Hello and welcome to Extra Connections. I'm James Lott Jr., your host. I'm the JLJ of JLJ Media. And I'm here with someone who is a part of JLJ Media. He has stuff on his own too, but he's someone that I found wandering the internet and roped him in and doing some audio dramas and then music. We have some successful songs together. Nature is Me. Everything Upside Down is Right Side Up. A bunch of songs did together, but also he's currently going to be the star, one of the stars of the upcoming season 2 of our audio comedy, Rapid Rita and the Speedster. But he's also on the Kringles. He's a bunch of things. He's on a bunch of shows. He's in House of Frost, which is still airing. The season finale will be written after the strike is done. But he's on that series too as Angus Starr. Help me welcome Anthony Tupasi. Hi, Anthony.
Hello, James. JLJ, the king of all media.
I try. Okay, so folks at home, if you don't know this, okay, I tried to explain during the pandemic. During the pandemic, I started doing these audio dramas. So I went Forever and a Day, and I went on from there. So I have over 17 out there. I have more to come. But to find people, I went old school. So I went to places like Craigslist. And I actually found people were like Craigslist. Been over 100 people on Craigslist.
So shady. You never know what you're gonna find there.
That's very true. But
it was like I remember it was something about wanting to be in a hot tub. Please wear your Speedo, and I was like, hey, this sounds like me. This sounds totally what I need to do.
It was very lucrative. It was 2-piece bikini, and a sauna. No, yeah, it was. I know. I went there and I found, and also some folks would give me people too. They'll say, "I know somebody wants to do this." But anyway, we were trying to do stuff while things were shut down. That's how it started. But it ended up creating a career for me. So I'm going to ask him because I've never actually asked him this question. I get to find out this stuff about him. So I found you on Craigslist too, right? Was that Craigslist?
We did. It was Craigslist, yeah.
So what were you doing on there? So what were you doing on there? I was just wonder how to find me.
Oh, well, that's I didn't think we were going to go into that part.
Misconnections.
Are we taping this? No,
not really. Misconnections, I guess.
No, it's funny. There's different things like actors access, and all sorts of things that you can find acting jobs. But I look on Craigslist as random things for like talent and everything, and fingers crossed. And now I jinxed it, but I feel like the closest relationships I've had with people within any sort of like a project as an actor, whether it's voice stuff or improv or sketch comedy or anything, has been through Craigslist. Maybe it's just me, but I think you kind of don't have all these channels, so you just kind of cut to the source. And I feel like, yeah, and that's how it was for you, because when we first talked, it was just like, wow, like we connected right away, and you weren't pitching anything. You weren't being like pitchy, or like you were just telling me about you, and it felt very authentic and real. And I never knew, like now, gosh, doing so many things together, from songs enough to make an album to doing like reviews after a show, and then all the voiceover stuff that we've done. I never knew when I made that call that I would be kind of transformed and learned. I've been learning a lot about myself through you too, just because now being part of your media empire, you get to not just do the work, but I also get to meet all these different people that I like Amanda Russ was somebody I met because she was like my girlfriend on one of the shows. And it was good to talk to her when she was doing those things, or people on social media and Instagram. It was like, in meeting them, they follow me and we connect in some ways, and just not like we're best friends, but it's cool to connect in so many different people and seeing all these different projects everyone's doing. And you're the seed,
I love it. No, for me, part of it was creating community also, because I didn't want to. I just felt like we were all, at first, when I first started, everybody was kind of just like floundering in the sea. Like, okay, well, because in LA, all productions shut down. Like it literally shut down.
Yeah.
And I also said, we have folks from other cities, other parts of the world. And I said, I want to give people an opportunity who may not even have opportunities like this. Like I always said, newbies, never dones, whatever. I want you to come. So my whole thing was non-union folks, only because I want to give people a chance I said it was not that I was against union people or SAG-AFTRA. We have some on my shows, but my thing was I want to give folks who don't get a chance and create this community. And so I love seeing you guys' names, liking other people's pictures on Instagram, and everybody's posting things. And I mean, I love it. I mean, it's like there's a lot that I can't say I was the nucleus of that's out there, but also
Yeah.
finding people who are like-minded, who are artistic. I mean, you're an artist, right? You've been an artist for how your whole life? How long have you been an artist?
Yeah, I mean, my dream was at I was at 8 years old. I was like, I'm gonna be a left fielder for the San Francisco Giants. That was my goal. That was it. I mean, seriously, that was what it was. And then during the 90s, during its really big, SNL legendary years, Phil Hartman, Mike Myers, all those guys, my mom turns to me because he used to watch it, and she goes, hey, you could do that. And I go, do what? She's like, well, you do all the voices and the imitations. And I go, no, but I goof around with that. And she's like, yeah, but you could do that as a job. And I was like, nah. And then I started thinking about it, and less and less did I want to be a left fielder. And I just started to do voices and characters, and I mimicked everybody from a dentist we had, or a grocery store person, or people my family could do all their stuff. And they were just like, wow, this is great. Like it was like, and I realized that not many people could do this and just, change themselves this way. And I love that chameleon like thing about it. And that's how acting started. Was mom was just like, yeah, this, do it.
Wow. Okay,
That's
mom.
the story.
And how did you get into improv?
Well, that was the whole thing. Another big influence in my life was my sister, and or she, I mean, is, and she,
Still here, folks. You're still here.
she's, sis, we're thinking of you. Um, I was in San Francisco, and then she comes back. So I was into the whole sketch comedy thing. I loved it, but I didn't know, how do you start this? And one day, so I used to be a nanny for my nieces. So yeah, as a night. So because I had childcare experience, and I was a teacher at preschool, and she said, we're moving back from Seattle to come in back to San Francisco, and can you be their teacher and nanny? So I said, okay. But one night she comes back in the morning, we kind of check in with each other. She goes, I went to this show, this improv show in San Francisco. It's called BATS. It's Bay Area Theater Sports. And you need to be doing this. I think I mentioned earlier on our 5 questions that she always breaks out of my comfort zone. She goes, you need to do this. So after you're done with nannying, like at nights, you're going to do this. And I'm like, why? And she's like, it's already done. Your birthday present is the gift certificate to the 6-week class. So I was like, oh, okay. She's like, so, every Wednesday night, you're going to go and do improv. And I was like, wow. And I started, and it was really hard, James. It was really hard. It was like,
why was it hard?
I mean, the thing about it, in the beginner class, no one's really that great, but it was just like the concepts were really hard, because not to get into this improv rant, but like you learn so much about like who you are to society and how society affects you. And we're such a like species that's so used to saying no all the time. We say no all the time. Like our first instinct is no. Like people are saying to you, like, well, do you want to go out and have some drinks? You're like, oh, you always find excuses not to do it, or, hey, my friend's having this party. Do you want to go? You're like, no, but I land up through my journey, began teaching people in improv and coaching them. And I was like, I'm not saying you should do this, but in reality, if you were to say yes to everything offered that comes by, I don't know what would happen to you. It might be bad, it could be good, but it will be 100% more interesting than if you said no, And I thought, like, you could rob a bank that night, maybe, but you'd have a really good story, And so improv kind of opened me to everyone knows the yes and thing, but I just kind of kept it as my life philosophy, as just being like, okay, let's open our mind to things. And so I got into the improv classes, and I love being challenged, and it was really hard, but it felt very attainable. Like, okay, gosh, I can't like a pull-up or something, like, gosh, this is so hard. But if I were to kind of do this every once in a while, I'll get it. And then I was just hooked. And even now, everything, like, to me is like, if nature isn't me at the times, it's improv is me, because I think it's more than acting. I think it's just how, we talk about 2020, that was constant improvisation. And people tell me, no, Anthony, I could never do that. I couldn't do it. You do it all the time. You lie, you make up stories all the time. You justify stupid things you do. That's improv. It has nothing to do with acting. It's just you, justifying stuff, whether it's good or bad. You're improvising.
Well, improv is, us layman folk, we hear improv, you think of Groundlings,
Yeah.
UCB, Second City, iOS, all those places that do stuff like that. But I have found many of the, because I went into hosting world first, so many of the
Yeah.
hosts that I knew, like Frank Moran, who's in many of who's in actually stars with them in Rapid Rita, he's an iOS person. There are a lot of folks
Yeah.
that they really do. The improv helps their hosting. It helps your live stuff. It helps a lot of stuff in your life, actually.
Yeah. Helps your marriage. It just,
Does it
yeah,
really?
and
Does it really?
yeah. Well, because you're always, you know, so like being on stage with somebody and like a sketch is like marriage because you guys both don't know what you're doing half the time. And because you don't, it's like a one word suggestion, like, okay. I always thought improv to me was like the best analogy is like you and a partner, or maybe a few other people, are in a boat and right away it's sinking. You're like, there's a hole in the boat, and you guys are basically trying to like take buckets of water out and just trying to stay afloat. And if you can stay afloat for how long this thing lasts and make it look good, then you've done it. And that's kind of how life is, right? You like, we're born into the world not in this like, we're pushed out of this small hole. Our head is squashed. Like that's how life begins. It's not like it's like, oh, we come out in this soft, velvety, it's like and you're screaming. And then when you get out, they cut your life force, so it's like, so you're constantly, so improv is like, it gives you tools for not just acting, but dealing with people, certain crazy years and marriage, partnership, because I think you have to be a good listener. You have to communicate, and you have to work with people, even if you like. I remember the hardest part in the first, like, anybody knows this who started improv in their first level, you're always going to be on somebody that's like on stage with somebody that is not connected with you right away, and you have to find it real fast. They'll like, okay, I'm coming out, I'm gonna play a doctor. That's my preconceptive idea, which is stupid. You shouldn't do it. And then you come out and you're like, all ready, your posture's ready. I have my clipboard, I'm gonna be a doctor. And then they go, hey, Superman. And you're like, oh, hi, Father Dairy, in this church we're in, we're like, oh, and everything changes. And that's life, like you get home and maybe your plumbing is down, and your sink is flooded, and you're like, oh, okay, we're doing this. And then you can either complain about it and bitch moan about it, or you can start working with it. So I don't know.
That's true. And actually, how long have you been married?
This end of this month will be 5 years. So
Wow.
crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you guys have a fun wedding, big wedding, small wedding?
The wedding was, I know this sounds so cliche, but it might have been one of the best days of my life because we really made an emphasis on not trying to be a certain way, like we're gonna be, oh, and the doves will fly out here, and then we'll have the lanterns. Like we really tried to make it like we had a setup, obviously. You didn't improvise that. You can't do that. But the whole thing, here's my key thing about, and this is the big tip for weddings.
Okay, folks,
And
listen.
and it came from improv, you see. My wife and I sat down and I said, here's the biggest thing we need to do. Like when you get out and you talk to people, like the first thing when you greet them, you're like, hey, everybody, welcome, blah, 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 is to just whatever you want that wedding to be, whether you want it to be like formal and hello, everyone, welcome to then if that's how you want it to be, then start that way. If you're going to be nervous and frantic and we got to get the pictures and the food, then people will be nervous and frantic. But if you want them to be calm and relaxed and enjoy it, you got to come in there and start that. Like you have to kind of, you lead that path. Like you blaze that trail and say, hey, everybody, gosh, this is a fun, happy time. You can't bullshit them. You have to really feel that way. And it's all about you and that person that you're getting married to, whoever that is, make that the thing. And then everyone will see it, and that was the magic of that wedding. I think it was just like, we just wanted to have fun. Like, let's just have fun. Like,
That's very
Some
cool.
people had a little too much fun, but that's a different story. I
Including
was
you.
like, woo,
Including you. Yes, I think including you. Yes.
no, no, no. I stayed. Because that was like free. That was I knew how much dangerous that could be. So I was, the embarrassing part of my wedding was that I cried for like the first half. My wife was like, doo doo. Oh, hey, this is fun. I was like, and then I hugged my sister. My sister did this speech, and my father-in-law did this speech. They kind of did off each other, and I was like, and she
You were
improvised
crybaby.
it.
You were
And
crybaby.
it's embarrassing because I'm at the table and I'm like this, she's like this, she's like, and I'm like this.
That's actually funny. I like that.
It
Yeah.
was it was so bad. Yeah.
What is the one thing your wife brings to your life?
She just deals with the craziness of, she brings stability. She brings, she's the rocks, the foundation. She's like, keeps everything kind of grounded. So if I get super anxious or too over the top, she just like, hey, let's, she's so yin and, we're both yin and yang, so definitely I'm the yang kind of hot energy, but there are times where she, you need to bring it down, and she just kind of keeps you like, hey, she's very chill. She's very chill. But to pat myself on the back, sometimes you need to kind of have that energy and stuff. Like
Yeah.
when it comes to those things where she's like, I don't want to deal with all these people socially. Like I don't. You do that, and I'm like, hey, everybody, how's it going? Yeah. Oh, hey, So I'm more the mouth, she's the brains. I think
I like that.
how.
I like that. I like that. I do.
Yeah.
As you get older, what is one thing you've been learning about yourself that they didn't tell you about?
Uh, Gosh, you have back pains all the time. Like,
That's
no,
very
no, I know
true.
it sounds horrible. Like you're
No,
just
it's
like,
very true. It's very
I
true.
just I said this. I totally said this yesterday. I said, I looked over at my wife and I go, so I guess I'm just gonna have lower back pains forever now. Is that just how? Is there gonna be a day where I just don't have like?
No,
I mean, this isn't sometimes are worse, but it's always there. Uh, oh,
that's very true. They didn't warn you about that. They didn't warn us about that. No, and
that's
I was
it.
you are, and I was telling you it doesn't go away. It
Well,
just
and the gray hairs. Well, for men, the men thing is this for men is you get all these weird hairs in your ears and your nose. You
yes,
think when you were
yes,
younger, yeah, you're always like, oh, it's like I'll be and getting ready for something, and then you're like, you think you're all set, and then there's these long, just
yes. I cut them.
thorns,
I cut them. I went and cut them.
or you're like you're rubbing your hand by your ear, and then all of a sudden there's like prickly thorns coming out of your ears. You're like, oh, I'm that guy now. So
I just pulled some hairs just now.
yeah,
Yes, my ears. Yes, I mean, hair grows in weird places. Yes,
yeah,
gray hair is crazy. I have gray chest hair. Now I have this here, and gray in other areas. I was like, oh, that down there too. I had no idea.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's
Well,
not fun. That's not fun at
that's
all.
when it gets really. You're like, whoa, I'm really old now. Like no one sees that. But it's more embarrassing there. Like no one sees it, but you're like,
It is.
oh,
It's
gray there. I'm old there too. Like I want to be young there. I don't mind if this gets old, but that can't be old. That has to
exactly
stay young.
right. Exactly.
I want to be
Okay.
like Al Pacino. You see, like he's just having babies every which way at 90.
Yes, he
Like,
is. I know he is. No kids for me at all. Hey, you don't have kids, do you?
not yet. So working
No,
on
they
that.
say, hey, I don't know. I mean, do I have some kids? Like, do I have kids somewhere? No, you know, yes, okay. Like, yeah. I mean, I'll just tell you, for folks who have kids, it ages you 10,000%.
Oh, that's funny you said it because like we've been we have all sorts of friends at our age that have kids and they're 2 or 3 years old. Sometimes maybe 10. Wow, way older than us. It's like, oh, and yeah, it does. I mean, if you partied hard in your 20s and then you had kids at some point too, either one of those will just because people always go like, oh, Anthony, you're not how old we no.
Oh, no,
This is
Anthony's way older than I thought he was. I think he looked young compared to.
and I go, well, it's the Filipino genes. And there's work. There's work. I mean, there's a lot of dieting and yoga, and it doesn't just come easy, guys. It
Anthony
doesn't
is
just
75, folks. He's
yeah, I'm
75.
75. Well, 76 tomorrow.
There you go.
And then no, there's no smoking, there's no, hard drugs. Alcohol's limited. I mean, enjoy ourselves, but But kids, I think, because I was a teacher, I was a preschool teacher,
Yeah,
so I did that. But then you go home and you become an adult, but I was like, I would sit there and be like, wow, who does this after hours? Like, gosh, who's crazy enough to do it?
I did it when I was young, so
Yeah,
I'm done. I was young and dumb, so now I couldn't have kids now. I'm a
yeah,
grandfather. I love it. I'll be a grandfather, but I don't want to be a parent now. No, thank you. I'm too old for that.
yeah.
I have friends my age who have kids. I'm like, they look tired. Um,
Oh, James. One thing too. Like getting older, the things I listen to on the radio are different. It's weird. Like I used to go, why do my parents listen to talk radio? What? You have a chance to get in the car and drive, and you can play music and fun. Now I'm like on NPR. I'm listening to the weather reports and the traffic. Ooh, I wonder what the 101's like today. Like what the like? And I catch myself. My niece will be like, "Can we listen to some music, Uncle?" I'm like, "No, I need to know what's going on in Ukraine right now. You see, it's very important. It's like things are thing what's happening in Sudan? I need to know. Like, can we just hear a little bit of music? Oh, okay. But when we're done after the song, we got to go back and hear. We got to hear Fresh Air with Terry Gross. I need to know. I know about this author and the LGBTQ community and how it's being represented. This play in Broadway. Yes, it's like that's like old people stuff.
in LA, 1070 a.m. Yes, you guys know what that is. Yes, very talk radio. That's so funny. Okay, so I got you a music career, something unexpected for you. I got you a music career. We had some successful songs,
Yes.
that successful for us that have played, and we're going to continue this whole journey. What you told me a little bit privately over the last year what it's been like for you and your family, but what has it been like for you and your family that we got you now? You're out not just acting and voice stuff, but now we actually have you doing songs.
The song thing is really great. I think the one that really just nailed it was the Nature Is Me. Like that is because the Nature of Me song is like at the core is who I am. It really is like that. It's not like, oh, I'm trying to be something
Of course,
else.
I wrote
So
that
some of the
song.
songs I'm,
I wrote that song. So I wrote the song.
yeah, totally. I said James Renault, but like that one just it was the sound, it hit right. I hear it all the time by friends and family.
I
You're
love
like, is nature is you? When we're about the part, nature is me, a part of you. And it's just that first part. It's not even the actual the chorus, it's the a part of you, part of me,
it.
you
Yeah.
know. And so it's like, it's this deep, but I think that song just hits me at the core. I love to be as seductive and sexy as some of the other songs I do, you know.
But I gotta tell you that song. Because again, I wrote it and produced it, whatever. But for me as a songwriter, I write songs all the time, and so, but I there's times when I'll pass a song on to him and say I wrote this song, period, just read it. But then there's some songs I write for him or my other artists. I write for them, and nature means I wrote for him because we talked one day about nature. And I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know, and then the melody came to me, and it's just lightning in a bottle. I think I really was lightning in a
Yeah.
bottle. Your delivery and it just worked. But I have to tell you, the other song that just gets everybody when I play it for them
Yeah.
from my album, Voice and Lot, me and Flobo Voice, out to Flobo. He was a guest on a couple of songs, and one of them was called "Everything Upside Down Is Right Side Up," and I dreamt the lyrics. I dreamt the song. I dreamt the melody. I wrote it. Flobo's so jealous. I do it all the time. I'll dream something and write it. But I said I want to add because the album was a duet album. It's me and Flobo, back and forth. But there was like, besides it needs something else. And I called in Anthony, not even knowing how wonderful it was going to be and life changing for that song. His fucking guys, run to any streaming platform service you have, play that song. His deep vocal on that. I remember I was listening to the vocals. I'm like, who's that? Who's that? I don't know who that is. And vocal was like, who's that? I go, I remember I had so folks will just not get into the weeds of it. Sometimes it can be a while to do a song. Some songs I do right away and they're done. Some are pieces. So I remember the song I didn't put all together until later. And I went back to it. I'm listening to the vocals going, who's that? Who did this again? Like, who's on this again? Because months had passed. I looked at my files. I'm like, that's Anthony Tupasi.
Yeah.
That's Anthony. And I'm telling you, I put it together, and me and Flobo were just like, "Are we turned on? Like, is this good? Are we like, you were the best part of the song." And then when I play for people, they're like, "That's Anthony." I'm like, "I like that." So, anyways, that's one of my other favorite songs that we've done together, where your vocal just out of nowhere surprised us.
That was a fun song. This even when you talked about it like that, and then but when you put it in the context of the song, we heard it back. I was like, oh wow.
Oh yeah, oh wow.
Well,
Because
no, but but it reminded me, James. Like you remember like the episode, that famous episode that the in Friends, like with Phoebe, she like gets a cold and she doesn't want to. She has that grovelly voice, and like and she wants to keep getting sick so she can keep that like voice. Like that's how I felt about that song, because I was like, and I really physically went into a closet, was like, okay, and then just got in this thing. I was like, you're up, you're down, just like trying to be as like what would be as like just yeah. I mean, but dark, not only sexy dark, but just dark, like
it
yeah,
worked.
definitive.
It worked. His new song is called "What About You." It's coming out, so we'll have that one next.
Mm-hmm.
We also did Besa for one of our series. So like we did a bunch of songs that for you were like, oh my god, my family hears these songs. It was like they're a lot of fun. I write the songs that make the whole world sing. No, I write the songs and I give them to other people, and I'm like, I give them Flobo or Caesar or whoever. I'm like, to hear someone interpret something that I write is always a strange thing.
Yeah.
But when lightning hits, it hits.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
But
fun.
I want to say, James, like I think that one thing I love working with you is that your vision, you do dream things and you do think of things, and it's really fun it brings you back to that. I haven't really been doing improv actively, but it brings you back to this feeling of like when you're with live actors, whether it's in sketch or even just like in theater. They have this like, oh, we gotta do this, we gotta do this, we gotta do this, like and you'll do this thing where like you're like, Anthony, like stop everything, we gotta do this right now, and you feel it, and then I love the energy you bring to me, because there's nothing more than I just like to fulfill and give back, and you always deliver, like you make it. I seriously work my ass off for you in all the things we do, voiceover or songs, and you always make it so worth it. Like you always deliver. You're like, and I just trust you, because you're like, just trust me on this. It'll work. And I'm like, but what if we like, no, 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 and you're not being a
I
jerk or
appreciate all you
difficult.
guys for trusting me. I appreciate you guys for trusting me.
Yeah. But I do 100%. You always make it pay off. It's always so fulfilling. It's like this wise kind of like, like you're like this wise guru. You're like, look, like trust the process, and I'm like, okay. But even though you're kind of like, and then when the product comes out at the end, you're like, oh my gosh, like that's the seed you told me to plant, and then water, and then the light, and oh my gosh, I have this huge, tree now. It's like, wow, that was,
Yeah,
so,
I believe it. I don't. I'm not a panicker. I'm not anxious person. That helps me because I have to stay
yeah,
because I'm managing all of you at the same time too. I'm managing you guys, so I got to make sure I stay calm. Because Tammy Govea, who we worked on some stuff together, of course, my co-host, she was saying that we were with Amanda Russ actually the other day in person in LA. We were together. She was out visiting us, and she goes, "James was so good at the Emmys last year. He was so calm. I was anxious, and he was like, "Calm down, bitch." And like you did, I did, but you're like, "We'll figure it out." And that's kind of my whole thing.
yeah,
I guess that's very similar to improv. It's kind of like we're gonna figure this all out.
yeah,
Try this, do this. I will work I have people, my producer, we'll work it out. We'll figure it out
yeah.
somehow. It will be what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I get every project. And I want to go into a little bit about, you just mentioned something I want to mention. This time is going by fast. I hate this going by fast. It's going on again. Working on the audio dramas with me, because you've actually done several casts now. You're one of the few that's actually crossed you, my guy, Richard Kane. Some of you guys have done several casts. So,
I've been around. I've been around with many casts.
Just spread them around. Um, but no, I'm saying for you, because you've seen the differences between casts. I want you to talk about that a little bit, because you've been on, because you always come with the great energy. I'm always ready to make everybody laugh. But you've seen how certain the emails one way, the Kringles is one way. Like they're all very different, aren't they? So please talk about that a little bit.
It's been interesting because everyone works really differently, and I respect everyone's way of doing it, because one of the things, we do a lot of these things on Zoom, and sometimes it's like the grid is full of all these faces ready to go, and then sometimes you go in, you're like, the grid is empty. It's like this frustrations they say when teachers were with kids that were during the Zoom teachings. You're like, where is everybody?
Yeah.
You're like,
They're there. They're there.
but I mean, the good thing is that we're always on, you know.
Yeah, we're
And I
always
always felt like, man, if I take my camera off, James is gonna know I'm up to something fishy, you know, or something's bad. So I got to keep it on. So, no, it's been interesting. It's so it's great because some people are like love to just like take their time on their lines and
The
play with
Kringles is
the
a crazy group. That group is like,
yes. Like
oh, we laugh.
A Kringles recording session will take like 3 hours.
Yes, exactly.
And there's like 10 lines. And then there's like some cast that will have like 3 lines and take like, or will take, there'll be like 50 lines and it'll be like 2 seconds. And like, and they mean business. And they're both fun in their different ways. Cause sometimes they're just people get in, they nail it and they go. And but they're different energies and it's fun. And I learn a lot by watching everybody and what they're doing, and I love that. I love kind of like seeing their pacing, and I love feeding off of their pacing. I try to, work with that. Some people just want to go fast, some people want to slow it down, and it's a great experience. That's why I really, really want to get into voice acting because I just get so immersed into it.
So he's
and I see
ready.
it.
More voice acting. Hire him. Hire him. Hire him.
Yeah. I do it all. I mean, everything from the voices and if I can't do it, I will like study up and figure it out. But that process is fun and yeah, it's fun to hear it back again and then you go, oh, okay, let's see, and then the next time because one of the characters that I felt like over time for me specific, like I love Caleb and it became like, and then there's like Angus Starr, but the one is I think where I'm going with this is the Gap. And it's James's alter ego, but like the Gap, wow. Like that
fun.
one to me, like the more I did it, I got into it.
Yes, and the Gap is coming. So I'm working on a more season 2 to put that out. He's in that one too as the Gap. But that whole Tooth Fairy, I have a whole thing. I'm not writing right now script because I'm on with the WGA. But yes, at some point we're going back. That's the Gap is a fun one. I can throw him in anywhere. He's sarcastic. He's self-aware. It's just, I mean, you just don't care. You just show.
Yeah.
Gap does not care.
Yeah. I mean, the Gap is just fun to play because it's like that's the kind of person I want to be, where I could just do shit for why not?
Snarky, just I don't care. Like, I'll go across you. I don't care. And I love how you and Caesar Espino play off each other because Caesar he plays a more lead character. He's always put upon. Everybody's just always his body. He's like guys are getting on his nerves. He just wants to live his life. Do guys bug the crap out of him? I love it.
Caesar is fun because I feel like I connect in my real life personality with Caesar's Amor character. Like, morally this isn't right, and we should be on the up and up. But then I get to play the Gap, who is always trying to mess with him, and he always can kind of convince him. They almost seem like brothers in some ways, where it's like he's like, "Oh, come on, just come on," But the one thing about the Gap though is like play this kind of evil, sinister character, but I still think he's not initially evil, because his character Rusty, the origins is not
right.
He's just he's like, man, I've been kind of screwed over. Now I'm gonna take it back.
Screw you over. Yeah, screw you over.
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole point. I mean, I want to give you an origin story like that because I was kind of like, we got to show how to become this kind of person. He's not just become snarky for no reason, but it's kind of like, he's going back at the folks who did him. He wants to have a leg up ahead of people, so to speak. I guess why you can sneak through things and slither through stuff and fill the gaps. But because before you were pushed aside a lot. You were pushed aside. You were weighed down. And that's how I imagine it. In one of the episodes we talk about his past a little bit in there. So all the episodes are out. You can see the episodes are on Red Story Podcast. But a Gap does come up on a more season 2. So he does some stuff on there. So that's so Anthony's in a bunch of stuff coming up. But that's one thing. But the Kringles, I like Caleb because he's so funny to me because he's so upbeat and everything. But it's your family. That whole cast. I love that cast. Karen and you and Beth and everybody just say, and we laugh so much. We laugh so much.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I mean, literally crying last couple of sessions we had. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anthony is. but also Beth is hilarious too, and
Yeah.
we all just end laughing. So it's like and the email, which is coming out season 3, he's in that also. I love that cast too. That's my most successful cast. One of my saying we're doing season 3, so I'm going to have a season 3 on. He joined too, and as this crazy character there too. I throw stuff at Anthony all the time. He's like, I want you to play a character that's just like a check. I didn't know an envelope.
Yeah.
They make fun of that on the show because
and the weirder the better, like, because that's what I want to do. That's like that's the improv side where it's like, you never want to be too comfortable, like, I just wanted, like, okay, now you're a chicken that is doing too much cocaine, but he's a rock star,
right.
And like, okay, but yeah.
Oh my goodness. Unfortunately, I have to end the show. You'll have to come back on another time. You're just amazing. I personally am so glad you're part of JLJ Media. I mean, you have it. You are a find. I want folks to discover who you are. He's also done after shows with me. We did She-Hulk together, right? That was when we did together.
Yes, the She-Hulk.
So, which is still a hit for us. So check out the She-Hulk after show. It's on JLJ Media. My sister fell in love with you from that. So they liked Anthony on that because he was so upbeat on that one. So more stuff's coming from him and us. And again, he's for hire. So if you guys got some voice stuff out there,
yes,
give it to him. Give it to him. Give it to him. And so
I'm easy to work with, man. And I come vaccinated,
Come vaccinated. Anthony Tupasi, thank you so much for coming on the show. Tell people where they can find you on social media.
You can find me on Instagram at Anthony Tupasi. The other one I run is Instagram called No Bite Too Small, and it's just the number 2 too small. So where I do lots of food, fun adventures. But hey, James, thank you so much again. Like, I love being around you and doing interviews. So when you asked to do an interview, like, let's do it right away. And but thank you for all the chances you've given me, because it's not just the work, but it's also just like I have learned so much, and just like the interest in voice acting and characters. It's just you're really, really like utilizing me to the fullest and bringing out all my best qualities, and I am so grateful for that. So thank you so much. And I just to hear that I have the it, and I'm definitely part of the JLJ Media family is like it's always good to hear. So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm James Lott Jr. Extra Connections is also on Facebook. JLJ Media is everywhere you want it to be. And we will see you next time.
All right.